Hello, my dear students. Today I am going to explain you about what is tissue culture and micropropagation. First, what is tissue culture? Tissue culture is the growing of an explant under controlled environment and aseptic condition in an artificial culture medium. Now, what is an explant? The explant may be any part of the plant, whether it is a cell, tissue or organ, but it should be living. Dead parts of the plants cannot be used as the explant. And under aseptic condition means the condition has to be totally aseptic, means without any unwanted microorganisms. And medium means when the plants are growing outside, they take their nutrients from the soil and they photosynthesize by the upper plant, that is the green parts. But while they are in the culture, they cannot photosynthesize properly, so we have to supply all the requirements, that is in the form of chemical, that is nutrient. We call it as the medium. When the plants are growing outside, they go near nutrition from the soil and they photosynthesize by the upper green parts. And aseptic condition means they have to be grown in a condition in which there is no microorganism. And controlled environment means in the culture room, the cultures are to be maintained at 25 plus minus degrees Celsius and humidity 80 to 90%, and photo period is normally, we generally give 16 hours light and 8 hours dark. And now what is this tissue culture can be applied in many fields, and whatever is the explant we have to take is to be dependent on those materials or on the aim of the experiment. Now, tissue culture can be used for certain other things also. Say for example, the different prospects of the plant tissue culture is apical meristem. So when we take apical meristem as the explant, it is mostly important for getting virus-free plants. How we can get the virus-free plant is the viral particles also replicate and the apical meristem cells also divide, and the speed of the apical meristem cells divide more faster than the replication of the viral particles. So the viral particles cannot enter into the newly dividing cells. Next is the shoot tip buds or shoot tip or axillary bud culture, that is mainly for the micropropagation, and it is very important for those plants which are very difficult to propagate asexually and sexually both. And next is immature seeds. Why immature seeds are to be cultured? Because it is for the mass germination of those immature seeds which cannot reach maturity very easily. Say for example, most of the hybrid orchid seeds, they abort prematurely. Just to save all those things, we can go for this immature seed culture also. And immature embryos, that is for the embryo rescue, that is very important for many of the hybrid plants which are viable only some 3-4 days. In those 3-4 days, if we remove the immature embryos, then we can make it to maturation in the culture. Next is anther, ovule and pollen culture. Why we have to take the anther, ovule and pollen as the explant is because it is very important to get haploid plants, and then once we got the haploid, then we can induce homozygous diploid, and this production of the homozygous diploid is very important in case of plant breeding. And while we do by conventional plant breeding, it takes more than 10 years, but if we go for this anther, ovule and pollen culture, we can get very easily within 1 year, and diploidization can be done by treatment with colchicine, and so we can easily get the homozygous diploid plant. Next is protoplast culture and protoplast fusion, and this is important for particularly the hybridization of the incompatible species or genera, in which the normal conventional practice of hybridization cannot be done that much very easily. And next is hybrid. Hybrid is almost similar to the hybrid, but the only thing is, in this case, out of the 2 protoplasts which is going to fuse, in one of the protoplasts the nucleus is removed, that is enucleated or inactivated. In that way, whatever is the cytoplasmic DNA which we are interested to transfer to the another protoplast, it can be easily transferred in this way. And these two, that is protoplast fusion and hybrid production, that can be done easily in a normal way by treatment with one chemical which is known as the polyethylene glycol or simply PEG. And next is synthetic seed. Here also, if say we culture we are having many cultures, but we want to leave some time due to many reasons. In that case, we can keep in the form of the synthetic seed. Synthetic seed is nothing but that organ or whatever embryo, it is encapsulated by calcium alginate, and we can keep it and store in the cold storage or whatever, in the cryopreservation form also. We can reuse it when we require it, or when the time comes, we can use it. Cryopreservation, we can cryopreserve all those cultured materials in liquid nitrogen at 191 degrees Celsius. And this secondary metabolite production, that is also very important, because the secondary metabolites are those metabolites which are produced by the plants that they do not utilize by themselves for their own metabolism. So these secondary metabolites are used by human beings as many of the drugs, say for example Serpentina, Rauwolfia serpentina, we got it from Rauwolfia serpentina. That is very important. So when these secondary metabolites are used as a drug, many of the plants, we say something we got from the root, then we have to uproot the plant, and those plants finally they will be on the verge of extinction. So in order to save those plants which are on the verge of extinction, we can utilize tissue culture as an alternative means for producing the secondary metabolites. Because the same cell which is growing in the culture, they can also produce the same metabolite which is produced by the living plant itself. Next is suspension culture, and that is nothing but culture of those, whether it is cell, tissue or organ, in the liquid medium. What is liquid medium? Means the medium in which there is no agar, that is the gelling agent, that is the liquid medium. And next is somaclonal variation. This is also very important, because variation is generally induced during plant breeding, but somaclonal variation means those variation which occurs in the somatic cell, and in this variation can be occur in the callus culture. Callus means unorganized mass of tissue which is obtained in tissue culture, and this callus culture in the long-term culture means when it is growing for a long time, then automatically genetic variation occurs, and from those genetic variations we can select those which are very more better than the original plant. That is, we call it as somaclonal variation. Genetically modified plant. The most advanced part of the plant tissue culture is production of genetically modified plant, which is also called as transgenic plants. Many transgenic crops are also produced. In this transgenic, we can produce, say, high yielding nutritious and disease resistance, nematode resistance, virus resistance, etc. Say for example, very simple example, you already know, that is BT cotton. Medium. After explaining the different prospects of plant tissue culture, now we come to the basic thing, that is medium. What is medium? I have already told you that artificial culture medium, that medium is the nutritive solution which may be liquid or solid, and it is used for the culturing of the egg plant, and it consists of different components or many constituents. The major and minor constituents, say macronutrients, micronutrients, and vitamins, hormones, and gelling agent. As the generally we use agar, but we can use gelrite and growth regulators. Generally in most of the tissue culture, auxins and cytokinins are used, and among the auxins, naphthalene acetic acid, that is NAA, IBA, indole butyric acid, IPA, indole propionic acid, IAA, indole acetic acid, and cytokinins among, say, like kinetin and BAP, benzyl aminopyrin. These are generally used. 2,4-D is not normally used because it induces in many cases callus, and that is not useful for the long term also, but for the rooting, etc., and callus induction, we can use NAA or IAA. In addition to the different constituents which I have mentioned, we can also add natural additives like coconut water and this banana powder, etc. Even the yeast extract can also be applied. And for getting the carbon source, we have to add sucrose. Micropropagation. Now, the most important thing which we can apply in tissue culture in our laboratory condition, even in our college, that is micropropagation. So what is micropropagation? Micropropagation is the propagation of plants in large number within a very limited period of time and space. We call it as the in vitro mass propagation or even clonal propagation also, because all those plants which are regenerated through this micropropagation or tissue culture are same is to the parent explant, that is parent plant. So we can call it as the in vitro clonal propagation. And this in vitro clonal propagation is very important for those plants which are very difficult to propagate conventionally, that is by sexual and asexual processes. And there are many plants which are very difficult to propagate naturally, that is they cannot produce much seeds, and seeds even though they are produced, they cannot germinate properly. Say for example the orchid seeds. Orchid seeds are very small and fine, they don't have endosperm, so they cannot grow under natural condition. Only when they germinated, only when they are in contact with some fungal, that is mycorrhizal association. Otherwise, we can easily germinate it or grow it in the culture medium in the 80 to 90% success. General steps of plant tissue culture or micropropagation. Now, I am going to explain you the different general steps of the plant tissue culture or micropropagation, because these steps are necessary for initiation of any tissue culture work. But particularly for this micropropagation, the type of explant which we have to take is the shoot tip or axillary buds. And first thing, we have to select the plant, that is the mother plant from which the explant has to be collected. It is to be healthy and it free of any diseases. And if in the case of trees, then we have to select the straight trees, trunk, etc. Then first we have to collect the shoot tips and it has to bring to the laboratory and clean it properly by using mild detergent. We wash it properly, and after washing it is to be rinsed with the clean tap water 3 to 4 times. Just like when we wash our clothes, we use to detergent, then again it is rinsed by clean water. In that way, the same process we have to apply here also. It is nothing, it's just to remove all those dust particles which are adhere to the plants. But if we take from the in vitro grown plants, no need of doing this cleaning procedure. And next is before inoculation, we have to do this disinfection. Disinfection means surface disinfection, because the explant is to be living and it has to grow as the living explant. So it cannot be boiled or it cannot be sterilized properly by using heat. So we have to do it by chemical treatment. And generally this mercury chloride is used 0.1% generally, and 0.1% mercury chloride, and that depends on the type of explant which we have to take. Soap explants, it can be treated for only 10 minutes, but it is very hard and woody, then we can treat it for longer periods, say for example 15 minutes. So the range is 10 to 15 minutes. And after, while cleaning, we have to rinse properly and shake. So because all the microbes which are present in the corners or are to be removed properly or disinfected. So after disinfection with the mercury chloride for 10 to 15 minutes, it is to be rinsed again by sterilized distilled water. You keep in mind, in this step, it is to be sterilized distilled water, because already we have started disinfection process. Once the disinfection process is started, we cannot rinse with simple, non-sterilized tap water. So it has to be sterilized water. Generally, we do sterilized distilled water. And after proper cleaning, proper rinsing, just to remove all the disinfectants, then we have to come to the next step, that is inoculation. And in this inoculation, we have to take out those explants from the disinfecting solution and rinsing solution water, then we have to keep in the Petri plate, and we have to trim properly according to the sizes or according to our needs. And it is to be inoculated in the already prepared and already sterilized culture medium. And once this inoculation process is over, then we have to transfer it into the culture room. In this culture room, all the inoculants are to be maintained at 25 plus minus 1 degree Celsius, photo period 16 hours light and 8 hours dark, and relative humidity is 80 to 90% relative humidity, and it is to be kept. Once those eggplants can grow in the culture, then we can call it as the established eggplant or establishment. In case of micropropagation, the next step is multiplication. Multiplication is a bit easier than establishment, because in establishment we have to allow to grow the eggplant in the culture, but in multiplication only increasing in the number. And in this multiplication we can do in by cutting or by inducing organogenesis, and by inducing embryo, that is embryogenesis. And in this case, the type of embryo which we have to induce in culture is the somatic embryo, because the embryo is developed from the somatic cell. So we call it somatic embryogenesis. If it is developed in the organ, then we call it organogenesis. But development of embryo, that is somatic embryogenesis, is preferable than organogenesis, because in the case of embryogenesis, the whole complete embryo, that is the embryo which can develop into the whole plant, can be obtained. But in case of organogenesis, only particular organs, say for example shoot. If shoot is developed, we have to go for another step, that is induction of rooting. And if root is developed, we have to go for induction of shooting. So it takes little time and more experimentation just to get the whole plant. That is, getting the whole plant in case of tissue culture, we call it as the regeneration. So after somatic embryogenesis or organogenesis, whatever is the case, finally we have to get the whole plant. The whole plant will grow in the culture room for a certain period, and after that it is to be transplanted outside. But the main thing is, before transplantation to the field, we have to acclimatize, that is harden. Why it is necessary? Because when the plants are growing in the culture room, it is growing in a very sophisticated way, that is temperature is controlled, light is controlled, nutrient is supplied, etc. But when they grow outside, they have to get their own nutrition from the soil, and they have to do in their own way. That is why hardening is very much required. And hardening is normally done in a greenhouse or polyhouse. But in those conditions where in polyhouse, greenhouse are not available, even we can grow under the shade also, just under the big tree like that. We can make a small nursery pot and we can grow it like that. Then after growing like that for 2 to 3 months, we can transplant it to the field. But proper caring has to be taken while they are transplanted to field, because also we need to give some shade, etc. Because when they are growing in under the field condition, natural condition, they have to face many natural conditions. So we have to take care of that. Once it is transplanted in the field, then our aim is success, because finally our aim and objective is just reach the farmer's field. The procedure which I had given in case of micropropagation, the same procedure has to be applied in other cases, that is use of different explants, say for example enter, ovule, immature, embryo, seeds, etc. All these steps are required. Advantages of micropropagation. This micropropagation is very important, and that is suitable in our condition also. So the different advantages of micropropagation are this very high rate of propagation, because in a very limited time we can produce many plants irrespective of the season. Then is carried out throughout the year irrespective of the season, as I have already told. Then production of the disease-free plants, and it is very cost effective, and it can be used. One of the most important thing is it can be used as an alternative to sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction for those plants which are very difficult to propagate under conventional practices. Then genetic conservation. Disadvantages of micropropagation. Even though many advantages are there, there are certainly some disadvantages of micropropagation also, because many times there is lot of problem due to contamination. We have to avoid this contamination by using different, say, antibiotics and fungicides, etc. Then brewing of the medium. In case of perennial woody trees, one difficult problem is while initiated the culture, brown color phenolic compounds, they exudate, and these phenolic compounds, when they are coming in contact with the atmospheric oxygen, it becomes oxidized and it becomes brown. Due to this oxidation, the medium become brown, but there are many ways which can avoid this browning also. Then next is vitrification. That is one of the most serious problem. When these multiplied plants are growing for a long time, they become watery, the leaves become watery, and it cannot grow for longer periods, and the plant health is not good. And another disadvantage is genetic variability, because in the long-term culture, genetic variability naturally occurs. So it cannot apply it if the aim of our experiment is particularly the clonal propagation. So before getting this genetic variability, or before inducing the genetic variability, we have to start our again new culture.